Chapter 46:30. To be able to sense something so deep underground, this ability is really amazing. Mo Chang exclaimed. With such a powerful treasure, wouldn't you be able to get as many treasures as you want? Rong Gong was also amazed. It's not that powerful. Qiu is only sensitive to metal materials. He can't sense things like the desolate crystal. Lu Ming said. That's already amazing enough. I suddenly have an idea. I wonder if you dare to give it a try. Mo Chang said. What idea? Tang Jun asked. Since Qiu has such a powerful sensing ability, we might be able to go to the immortal burial blood sea to seize the opportunity. Mo Chang said. The immortal burial blood sea. Lin Yi and Rong Gong's expressions changed. Only Tang Jun remained calm. What kind of place is the immortal burial blood sea? Lu Ming asked curiously. The immortal burial blood sea should be the place of a fierce battle in the last era. Countless overlords died in battle and their blood spilled, forming a sea of blood that buried countless overlords. Of course, there are also the treasures that those overlords carried with them. So, there are a lot of treasures under the immortal burial blood sea. Even after so many years, there are still many treasures that have been preserved, which attracted a lot of overlords. Legend has it that the immortal burial blood sea once buried immortals. Tang Jun explained in detail. Immortals? What's immortals? Lu Ming was confused. Of course, he had heard of this word and knew it, but he didn't know the specific meaning. Immortals are just a title. According to the books we found in the ruins of the universe, the people of the last era called transcendents immortals. Tang Jun said. Transcendents. Lu Ming was shocked. Transcendents were beyond the origin and the universe. They had an infinite lifespan and could even be reincarnated. The realm that no one in the current universe could reach was called immortals in the last era. According to the books left behind in the last era, immortals are the ultimate goal of all cultivators. The goal of the cultivators of the last era was to become immortals. Tang Jun continued. Clearly, Lin Yi and the others had heard of the legends of immortals, and they did not look surprised. The immortal burial sea of blood is usually a place where high-level divine lords go. Those high-level divine lords from the heavenly palace also go there. With our strength, we're still a little weak. Lin Yi said. We won't compete with others. Once we find people from the heavenly palace, we'll just take a detour. We just need to rely on Qiu to find treasures. When we find treasures, Lu Ming will get the bigger share, and we'll split the smaller share. What do you think? Mo Chang said. I think it's feasible. Tang Jun said. I can give it a try. In the end, Lin Yi and Rong Gong also nodded. Lu Ming naturally had no objections. He had always been bold and daring, seeking riches and honor in the midst of danger. What was a little danger to him? Moreover, the five of them, together with Qiu, might not be weak. After making up their minds, they immediately changed directions and headed towards the immortal burial blood sea. About 3 days later, they finally arrived at the immortal burial blood sea. The immortal burial blood sea was really an ocean. At a glance, it was boundless and filled with blood-red seawater. The seawater was tumbling, but there was no smell of blood. Instead, there was a faint murderous intent and evil spirit. No one would dare to come to the immortal burial blood sea when it's filled with murderous intent and evil spirit. Even now, there's still a faint murderous intent and evil spirit. Moreover, there are many powerful insects living in the blood sea. You have to be careful after entering. Tang Jun said to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. Right away, they flew into the sea of blood and flew above the sea of blood. Whoosh! Looking down into the blood sea, they could see several huge figures swimming in the blood-red seawater. They were clearly huge insects. However, these insects did not rush up to attack them. The insects here rely more on the blood water in the blood sea. They won't leave the water to attack, so it's safer to fly above the water. However, if you want to find the treasures in the blood sea, you have to enter the blood sea. That way, you'll be attacked by those insects. Tang Jun explained. That's right. Therefore, we have a huge advantage with Qiu. We don't have to enter the blood sea to look for treasures. We can just fly above the sea and wait for Chocho to sense the treasures in the sea before we enter the Blood Sea. This will reduce a lot of danger. Mo Chang said. Lu Ming nodded. That was indeed the case. Without needing Lu Ming's instructions, Chocho had already flown out. Its eyes were rolling as it sensed. Whoosh! Suddenly, layers of waves appeared in the Blood Sea not far away. There were even rumbling sounds coming from the Blood Sea. Someone is fighting with the insects. Lu Ming's heart trembled slightly. He looked through the sea of blood and saw 7 to 8 figures fighting fiercely with a few worms in the sea of blood. They were Heaven Destroyer's men. 7 or 8 Heaven Destroyer's men fought fiercely as they rushed upward. In the end, they all rushed out of the sea and the insects did not chase after them. However, those 7 or 8 people were all injured. It could be seen how terrifying the insects they had encountered just now were. Those 7 or 8 people also saw Lu Ming and the others. They nodded and greeted them before flying into the distance. Lu Ming and the others chose to fly in another direction. After a while, got it. I feel that there's something delicious down there. Chocho stared at the sea below and said. What treasure is down there? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. It should be a broken source-level divine weapon, Chocho said. A broken source-level divine weapon. That's right. Let's go down, Mo Chang said. A broken source-level divine weapon was also a very valuable treasure for others. Lin Yi, there are no insects nearby, right? Then, Mo Chang asked Lin Yi. No, I've sensed it. Lin Yi said. Okay, let's go down. Mo Chang nodded. The 5 of them, including Chocho, rushed into the Blood Sea. The blood water in the Blood Sea was said to be formed by the blood of countless experts. Even after so many years, it still contained a lot of energy and was extremely heavy. Moreover, even if the killing intent and evil aura had subsided, the blood water still contained some killing intent and evil aura that would constantly corrode the living beings that entered. Lu Ming and the others set up layers of defense on the surface of their bodies to block the corrosion of the blood water. They sped up and quickly sank to the bottom of the sea. The bottom of the sea was very deep. They had been descending for more than 100,000 meters before they finally reached the bottom. They could see half of the battle saber stabbed into the rocks at the bottom of the sea, emitting strange fluctuations. That's right, it was a broken source-level divine weapon. Lu Ming flew over, pulled the broken source-level divine weapon out of the ground, and put it into his storage ring. Of course, Lu Ming could not have this broken source-level divine weapon alone. Everyone had a share. According to the agreement, Lu Ming would get more. After all, searching for treasures in the Blood Sea required everyone's strength. Chapter 46:31. Not good, let's go, there's a worm coming. At this moment, Lin Yi's expression changed as he exclaimed. The countenances of Lu Ming, Tang Jun, and the rest changed drastically. Without any hesitation, the 5 of them shot upward like arrows released from a bow. However, it was still too late. 2 worms had already swum over. These 2 worms were like 2 blood-red snakes, but they didn't look like snakes. Their bodies were like snakes, but their heads weren't like snakes. They were filled with sharp fangs. Whoosh, whoosh. The 2 worms were extremely fast. They were like 2 long whips, lashing towards Lu Ming and the rest. Their speed was so terrifying that the blood water was drawn away, forming a vacuum zone. Lu Ming and Tang Jun were attacked by one of the worms. The 2 of them joined hands to block it, but after being struck by the worm, their bodies trembled violently and they couldn't help but fall back. On the other side, Mo Chang and the rest were also sent flying by the worm. What a terrifying power! Lu Ming's expression was solemn. Before he could recover, the long worm whipped him again. Kill it! Lu Ming hollered. He held the God of Combat spear in his hand and pierced the long worm's body. However, it did not pierce through. Lu Ming discovered that the long worm's body was extremely tough. The God of Combat spear only pierced through a layer of skin and it was less than an inch deep. Instead, there was a strong rebounding force that caused Lu Ming's arm to go numb. After being pierced by Lu Ming, the worm seemed to be incomparably furious. It let out an ear-piercing shriek, its mouth filled with sharp fangs biting towards Lu Ming at lightning speed. Slash. Cho turned into a halberd and slashed at the worm's head. Of course, it didn't cut off the worm's head, but it caused it to deviate. Following that, Tang Jun slashed out with his sword. The sword light dyed the blood sea with a layer of white light. It also slashed at the worm's head, but it only broke a layer of skin and didn't cut off the worm's head. Not only was this long worm astonishingly strong, but its defense was also terrifyingly strong. Don't get entangled with them. Let's rush out of the sea. Otherwise, we'll attract more insects and be in danger. Lin Yi shouted. Go. Lu Ming, Tang Jun, and the others no longer attacked, rushing towards the surface of the sea with all their might. Yi, Mo, Chang, and Rong also rushed upwards with all their might. The two long worms screeched and chased after them relentlessly. Lu Ming and the others attacked while rushing upwards. In the end, they rushed out of the sea. The two long worms swam back and forth in the sea, screaming non-stop. After a while, they sank into the sea and left. What a terrifying worm. Are all the worms in the immortal burial sea of blood so powerful? Lu Ming said. Not all of them are that strong. We were unlucky and met two of the stronger ones. Many of them shouldn't be that strong, but there are stronger ones. It all depends on luck, Lin Yi said. Lu Ming nodded. This was normal. If all the worms were that powerful, no one would dare to go into the sea to look for treasures. Not many. Just a dozen of those worms would make it difficult for Lu Ming and the others to escape. Lin Yi, didn't you sense that there were no worms before? Why did two suddenly appear? Mo Chang looked at Lin Yi unhappily. I sensed them before, but there was indeed no worms. However, the blood here contains a strange energy that interferes with my senses. The distance I can sense is greatly reduced. Those two long worms should have been outside the range of my senses before, but they were attracted after we went into the sea. Lin Yi said. These words made Lu Ming, Mo Chang, and the others' expressions become more serious. It seemed that they had to be more careful in the future. Then, they left the place, and Cho continued to sense. In the blink of an eye, half a day had passed. During this half a day, they had gained a lot. They obtained 5 or 6 pieces of strange metals. Metals that could soak in the blood sea for a long time were definitely not to be underestimated. In addition, they found a total of 3 damaged weapons. This was a very great harvest. After all, many groups had searched the blood sea for a very long time without finding a single damaged weapon. If others wanted to search, they would have to enter the depths of the immortal burial sea of blood. If they did that, they would have to pay attention to the attacks of the worms. They would face danger at all times, so the efficiency of searching would obviously be very slow. How could they be like Cho, who could sense the treasures at the bottom of the sea just by flying on the surface? The only drawback was that Cho could only sense treasures that contained precious metals. It could not sense anything that was not metal. For example, Cho could not sense some extremely high-grade storage pouches. The ones that could really make a fortune were those extremely high-grade storage pouches. Those storage pouches could be preserved in the blood sea for countless years without being damaged. They were definitely left behind by the almighty figures of the last era. There might be some shocking treasures inside. In the past, there had been people who had obtained such storage pouches and discovered shocking treasures inside. There were even treasures that surpassed origin-grade weapons and a large number of treasures that contained origin imprints. It was also because of this that a large number of reciprocity experts had once been attracted to the immortal burial sea of blood to search for treasures. However, that kind of storage pouch was extremely rare, to the point that it was extremely rare. In the 10 stellar years since the Thousand Autumn battlefield had been discovered, only 2 of such storage pouches had been found. This was mainly because the water of the immortal burial sea of blood contained terrifying energy. If it were not for the fact that the storage pouches were astonishingly high grade, the other storage pouches would have corroded long ago. However, even so, Mo Chang, Rong, Lin Yi and the others were extremely satisfied. With the value of damaged origin-grade weapons, they had obtained quite a lot of wealth. Only half a day had passed. In the past, They had only been waiting for the killing intent and baleful aura of the core battlefield to reappear. They might not have been able to find a damaged weapon. If they spent a little more time, their harvest would definitely be even greater. They continued to search. At the same time, they expanded their spiritual senses, paying attention to the situation in the surroundings at all times. After all, not only would the people of the Heaven Destroyer come to the immortal burial sea of blood, but the people of the Heavenly Palace would also come. There was always danger. However, Lu Ming and the others still did not discover that there were several pairs of eyes staring at them from the sea of blood not far from them. This was a group of experts from the Heavenly Palace. There were a total of 7 of them. They hid in the sea of blood, and their auras were obscured by the sea of blood. This was why Lu Ming and the others could not sense them. One of them seems to be the daughter of the Forbidden Sword ancestor, Tang Feng. The 7 experts of the Heavenly Palace secretly conversed. That's right. It's Tang Feng's daughter, Tang Jun. Very good. I never thought I would run into Tang Jun here. As long as we capture her, it will be a huge blow to the rebels. At that time, young Palace Master Yi Xian will definitely reward us handsomely. Tang Jun is secondary. That metallic life form is the most important. It can actually sense the treasures at the bottom of the sea. Once we obtain it, just how many treasures can we obtain from the Thousand Autumn battlefield? It definitely won't be a problem for us to soar to the sky in the future. That's right. We must obtain that metallic life form. The 7 experts of the Heavenly Palace secretly conversed, their eyes burning with passion. Chapter 46-32. Then should we attack now? With our strength, we're more than capable of taking them down. One of the 7 Heavenly Palace experts asked. They had already seen through the cultivation of Lu Ming's group. One was an 8th-level Divine Lord, one was a 7th-level Divine Lord, one was a 6th-level Divine Lord, and 2 were 5th-level Divine Lords. 4 of them were 8th-level Divine Lords and 3 7th-level Divine Lords. There was a huge gap between them in terms of combat prowess. No, wait a moment. If we attack here, we might attract the attention of other traitors. Let's wait until they're a little farther away before attacking. That way, we won't attract the attention of others. We'll be safe, a female heavenly human said. This female heavenly human looked very young, only in her 20s. She was very beautiful. Her cultivation was only at the 7th-level Divine Lord realm, but the other 8th-level Divine Lords seemed to regard her as their leader. Yes, then we'll wait here. The others nodded. They were hiding in the sea, unafraid of the insects. The main reason was that the young heavenly human woman was holding a disc array in her hand. Runes were emitted from the disc array, forming a circle of runes that enveloped them. This runic halo seemed to have a concealment effect. As long as they weren't too close to the insects wouldn't be able to discover them. Lu Ming's group didn't even realize that they were being watched. They continued forward. Mo Chang had been to the immortal burial blood sea before, so he was somewhat familiar with this place. Now, Mo Chang wanted to take Lu Ming's group to a more remote part of the sea. Although there were more insects there and it was more dangerous, there might also be more treasures there. After a period of time, they approached this part of the sea. Suddenly, the sea churned, and 7 figures charged out like lightning, surrounding Lu Ming's group. Not good. It's the Heavenly Palace. How can they hide in the sea without being discovered by the insects? Mo Chang, Lin Yi, and the others turned pale with fright and cried out. The faces of Lu Ming, Tang Jun, and the others also darkened. This was especially true for Mo Chang, who was also an 8th-level Divine Lord. With a sweep of his spiritual sense, he discovered the cultivation levels of the 7 Heavenly Palace members. 4 8th-level Divine Lords and 3 7th-level Divine Lords. This level of combat power was far above his group. How could they resist this? Tang Jun, your luck is over. Now, we'll give you a chance to cultivate at your own expense and return to the Heavenly Palace with us. You'll suffer less. One of the pale-faced heavenly human tribe elders sneered as he scanned Tang Jun with a cold gaze. There were also a few people who looked at Chochio with burning eyes, revealing deep greed. As for Lu Ming, he was directly ignored by these people from the Sky Palace. How could they take a 5th-level divine master seriously? He was not a peerless genius like Tang Junboom. Boom. Boom. The 7 Heavenly Palace experts unleashed their full strength, their powerful energies pressing down on Lu Ming's group. They wanted to strike fear into Lu Ming's group so that they could defeat them in one fell swoop. 4 8th-level Divine Lords and 3 7th-level Divine Lord. They did not conceal their cultivation, so Lu Ming naturally knew their cultivation levels. He swept his gaze over them, secretly observing them. The pale-faced heavenly human race elder was an 8th-level Divine Lord. There was also a middle-aged heavenly human race woman, also an 8th-level Divine Lord. The other 2 were heavenly human race men who looked exactly the same. They were clearly twins and were also 8th-level Divine Lords. There was also a young heavenly human race woman who was a 7th-level Divine Lord. The remaining 2 were not from the heavenly human race. One was from the angel race and the other was from the blood race. Lu Ming even recognized the angel race. When Lu Ming had first arrived at the Thousand Autumn battlefield, he had encountered a 12-winged angel who had attacked him. Tang Jun had arrived midway and saved Lu Ming. The angel before him was the one who had attacked Lu Ming back then. This angel and the blood race both had 7th-level Divine Lord cultivations. Tang Jun said nothing, but the energy on his body grew stronger and stronger. It was clear that he had pushed his energy to the limit and was ready to fight at any moment. How should we divide the 5 of them? Among them, the pale-faced elder from the angel clan asked. Leave this smoke race remnant to me, the middle-aged heavenly human race woman coldly said, her powerful energy locking onto Mo Chang's body. Boom. Mo Chang also erupted with his own energy, fighting back against the middle-aged heavenly human race man. Their energies clashed, creating a series of explosions. Tang Jun is extremely strong. Although he's only a 5th-level Divine Lord, we can't be careless. Leave him to this old man, the pale-faced heavenly human race elder said, his powerful energy locking onto Tang Jun. Everyone says that the top 10 races of the ancient era were stronger than the current ones, but I don't believe it. Leave this heaven and earth race fellow to me, the blood race expert stepped forward, his energy locking onto Rong Gong. He was of the same level as Rong Gong, and he wanted to prove that the blood race was not weaker than the heaven and earth race, perhaps even stronger. Then leave these 2 to me. I'll kill them. The powerful angel's aura was fixed on Lin Yi and Lu Ming. His body was covered in sacred light, and 12 angel wings extended from his body. With a flap of his wings, his body shot toward Lu Ming and Lin Yi like a bolt of lightning. A few streaks of angelic sword gleams slashed toward Lu Ming and Lin Yi. It was clear that this angel did not recognize Lu Ming. This was because the appearance and aura Lu Ming had imitated through the great imitation art was completely different from when he had first arrived at the Thousand Autumn battlefield. Lu Ming, watch out! Lin Yi roared, circulating his energy to the limit as he prepared to resist. Lin Yi, leave it to me, Lu Ming calmly said. With a single step, he appeared in front of Lin Yi. He grabbed at the air, condensing a spear and thrusting it forward, shooting out several beams of light. After coming to the Thousand Autumn battlefield, his cultivation had broken through 2 levels, going from level 3 God Lord to level 5 God Lord. He really wanted to test just how strong his battle prowess was. This angel race expert was a 12-winged angel, the apex of the angel race's talent. He was also a level 7 God Lord, and his fighting strength was no weaker than Yi Ling Tianshou's. It was most suitable for him to use it to test his current combat strength. Boom, boom, boom. The spear light and sword light clashed, exploding with explosions. The sword light collapsed, and the spear light exploded. The angel race expert grimaced and retreated. In the end, he managed to avoid most of the spear light, but he was still struck by one, leaving a deep wound on his body. Millimeter. The other experts of the Heavenly Palace frowned. Lu Ming's fighting strength had exceeded their expectations. It seemed that he was a monstrous genius. Stanford, what's going on? You can't even take down a mere level 5 godlord? One of the twins asked. The twins stood on either side of the young woman, seemingly having no intention of attacking. Chapter 46-33. The angel race expert, Stanford, had a gloomy expression as he glared at Lu Ming, his murderous intent thick and intense. This brat is very strong, but I can suppress him. I didn't use my full strength just now. Kill him in 3 moves, Stanford said coldly. He had indeed not used his full strength just now. It was just a 6th-tier Divine Master and a 5th-tier Divine Master. In his opinion, he did not need to use his full strength to kill them. His cultivation was higher, and he was a 12-winged angel. He had absolute confidence in himself. Kill! Stanford shouted. Holy light burst forth and gathered on the angelic sword. He became one with the sword, turning into a terrifying sword light that slashed at Lu Ming, intending to cut Lu Ming in half. Through the exchange just now, he knew that Lu Ming was not simple, so he used his full strength in this move. The others from the Heavenly Palace did not attack. They just watched indifferently. They were not in a hurry to attack. They wanted to kill the traitors one by one, instilling fear in them. Only then would they feel satisfied. That's all you've got. Let's end this. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. He no longer held back. The war god's spear appeared and stabbed out, clashing with the angelic sword. With a loud bang, the angelic combat sword exploded. Lu Ming's spear did not stop. It flashed past like lightning. With a phut sound, the area between Danfo's eyebrows was pierced. His soul was annihilated by the terrifying power and he died on the spot. Stanford's eyes were wide open. Even in death, he did not understand why Lu Ming was so terrifying that he could not even block a single move. Although he was a 7th-tier Divine Master, his fighting strength was strong enough to contend with an 8th-tier Divine Master of an ordinary race. With such fighting strength, he had been instantly killed by a 5th-tier Divine Master. He died with his eyes wide open. The others from the Heavenly Palace were also shocked, their faces filled with disbelief. They were well aware of Stanford's fighting strength. Otherwise, they would not have let Stanford follow them. But now, he had been instantly killed by a 5th-tier Divine Master. This was unbelievable. My strength has really increased by a lot. Lu Ming revealed a faint smile. Danfo's strength wasn't any weaker than Yeling Tianshou. Back in the Stellar Sky continent, Yeling Tianshou wasn't someone he could fight against at all. In the end, he had used all his strength and used some of his trump cards. In the end, he had relied on the Black Fog and Chochio's help to finally kill Yeling Tianshou. But now, he didn't need any help, nor did he need any trump cards, and he could easily kill an expert who wasn't any weaker than Yeling Tianshou. This increase in strength gave Lu Ming a strong sense of satisfaction. Damn it, this brat is pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. All of you, do it. Leave this brat to me. One of the twins roared and took a step forward. Like a fierce tiger, he charged at Lu Ming. A battle axe appeared in his hand, and he swung it at Lu Ming. Lu Ming showed no fear. He swung his spear to meet the attack. With a clang, the two exchanged blows. The opponent's attack was blocked, and he staggered back. Lu Ming couldn't help but take 2 steps back. What powerful strength, containing 2 types of supreme heavenly force. Another terrifying monstrous character. Lu Ming focused his eyes. One of the twins was extremely strong. He wasn't an ordinary celestial race member. He actually controlled 2 supreme heavenly powers, and his cultivation was at 8th-tier Divine Master. That move just now had made Lu Ming's arm go numb. With Lu Ming's current fighting strength, an ordinary 8th-tier Divine Master would definitely not be a match for Lu Ming and would be killed by Lu Ming. But this one before him was considered one of the best even in the celestial race. He was completely different from an ordinary 8th-tier Divine Master. At the same time, the others also moved. The middle-aged woman launched an attack on Mo Chang. As a member of the celestial race, the middle-aged woman's talent went without saying. However, Mo Chang was not weak either. He was one of the top 10 races of the ancient era. Even if his talent was not as great as the celestial races, it was not too far off. The two of them engaged in an intense battle. On the other side, the pale-faced celestial race elder was engaged in a fierce battle with Tang Jun. Tang Jun was extremely talented. Although he was only a 5th-tier Divine Master, his fighting strength was extremely strong. Not only was he not at a disadvantage, but he even had a slight advantage. Rong Gong was engaged in a fierce battle with the 7th-tier divine master of the blood race. Both of them were extremely fast, exchanging more than a dozen blows in an instant. With this, the difference in strength was revealed. It was clear that Rong Gong was stronger and had the absolute advantage. However, the blood race had a strange constitution and an extremely strong life force. They were very difficult to kill, so even though Rong Gong was at a disadvantage, it was not that easy to kill his opponent. This made the two celestial race members who had yet to act somewhat gloomy. They had thought that they could easily deal with this, but the difficulty had exceeded their expectations. "Brat, die for me, die!" roared one of the twins. Two types of supreme heavenly energy erupted from his body, gathering on his battle axe as he unleashed a barrage of attacks on Lu Ming. "You're the one who's going to die," Lu Ming coldly roared as he waved his war god spear. Spear light tore through the air, piercing through space with terrifying power. In the blink of an eye, he had exchanged several dozen blows with his opponent. "Primordial desolate," Lu Ming suddenly roared as he formed a seal with one hand. A continent appeared and pressed down on his opponent. Lu Ming had not been cultivating for nothing. He was becoming more and more proficient in the primordial desolate style, and its power was also growing stronger. In the past, he had needed to form a seal with both hands to use the primordial desolate style, but now, he could form a seal with one hand. This made it much easier for him to fight. The mountains and rivers of the primordial desolate continent were much more realistic than before. It was like the primordial desolate continent had truly appeared and was pressing down on his opponent. The berserk energy caused the blood sea below to tremble and swell. "Break for me," roared one of his opponents. His face was extremely solemn as he felt a terrifying sense of danger from this move. He swung his battle axe with all his might, and it landed on the continent with a deafening boom. However, Lu Ming made his move again. He used the sky-piercing style and pierced towards his opponent's forehead. His opponent was shocked. He could only swing his battle axe at Lu Ming. The battle axe collided with the spear light and blocked the attack of the spear light. However, the primordial desolate continent continued to press down on his opponent's body. With a loud bang, his opponent's body was smashed into the blood sea like a meteorite. "Second brother," roared the other twin. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. The other experts of the Heavenly Palace were also shocked. This was especially true for the pale-faced old man who was battling Tang Jun. He had already been forced into a disadvantageous position by Tang Jun, but at this moment, his mind was shaken, and in a moment of carelessness, he was struck by Tang Jun, coughing up blood as he retreated. Whoosh! Suddenly, the sea below trembled. The waves swept and a figure soared into the sky. It was one of the twins. However, he was in a sorry state. There were many injuries all over his body and blood kept flowing out. The move just now had put him in a difficult position. Chapter 46-34. One of the twins, a heavenly human, glared at Lu Ming like a wild beast, as if he wanted to tear Lu Ming apart. Lu Ming's move had left him in a terrible state. More than a dozen of his bones had been broken, and his internal organs had been damaged. His injuries were not light. To think that he would be injured by a 5th-tier divine lord. This was a great humiliation. "Brat, I'll tear you apart," the other party roared, his expression savage. "I'll give you a boost." At this moment, the young woman from the heavenly human clan that hadn't fought until now spoke. Before she even finished speaking, she'd formed a seal with her hands. After that, an enormous formation formed by countless symbols floated above her head. Wang! The array trembled. The next moment, an array appeared above the pale-faced elder, the middle-aged woman, the blood race, and one of the twins. The array emitted a milky white light that sprinkled on the group. At this moment, their auras suddenly soared. The 4 experts from the Heavenly Palace seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. Their auras surged and became stronger and stronger. Boom! Mo Chang was not weak, but he was forced back by the other party's move. Tang Jun and Rong Gong, who had the upper hand, were now suppressed by the other party. "Brat, die for me," The younger twin brother let out a long howl. He held a battle axe in his hand and charged toward Lu Ming in a frenzy. The two supreme heavenly powers howled as they gathered in the battle axe, filling the sky with axe shadows. Primeval Desolation. Lu Ming once again used the Primeval Desolation style. A continent formed and pressed down on the other party. "Open for me!" The other party roared as the battle axe struck the continent. The continent trembled, and cracks appeared on it before it exploded. The other party's figure was only slightly hindered before he continued to charge at Lu Ming. Wang. The war god's spear trembled as it thrust forward, clashing with the battle axe. Clang, clang, clang. In an instant, the two sides exchanged dozens of blows. The younger twin's attack was blocked, and he was forced back. But Lu Ming's body also trembled as he drifted back. What powerful strength! His strength has at least doubled from before. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed, and his expression became somewhat solemn. He glanced at the young woman from the heavenly human tribe and then looked at the rune formation above his second brother's head. Obviously, it was because of this matrix that second brother and the other masters of the heavenly palace had become much more powerful. It could actually increase one's strength. This ability was a little terrifying. When one's realm was relatively low, there would indeed be some talents who specialized in support. These people were not good at fighting, but they were invincible in support. They could support others and increase their combat power. However, the higher one's cultivation level was, the more difficult it would be to enhance it. Not to mention reaching the Divine Master realm. It was extremely difficult to make a Divine Master's battle prowess explosively increase. This woman from the heavenly human tribe was definitely gifted. She was a rare genius in the heavenly human tribe. Taboo power. Kid, the power you possess is taboo power. You are Lu Ming. The second twin brother suddenly roared. After exchanging many blows with Lu Ming, he finally discovered that the power that Lu Ming controlled was forbidden power. What? Taboo power. The others were also shocked. Then, cold murderous intent burst out from their hearts. Lu Ming. It was actually Lu Ming. No wonder his combat power was so terrifying. However, since it was Lu Ming, all the more reason to get rid of him. All the more reason to kill him. Lu Ming, die. After I kill you, I will soar to the sky. The second twin brother's eyes were burning. He stared at Lu Ming. The supreme heavenly power in his body burst out crazily. Once again, he charged at Lu Ming. Kill. Lu Ming shouted. He waved his spear and fought with his opponent. The two of them fought crazily. After exchanging more than 100 blows, there was still no clear winner. Should I use my origin energy? Lu Ming had many thoughts in his mind. The older twin brother had not made a move, guarding that young woman. However, he still gave Lu Ming a strong pressure, making him feel very dangerous. Furthermore, Mo Chang and the others were already at a disadvantage. This was especially true for Mo Chang. He was in a precarious situation and could be killed at any time. Lu Ming wanted to use his origin energy to defeat his second brother. However, he did not think that he could kill the other party in one move. If he could not kill the other party in one move, the situation would not change. After Mo Chang was killed, that middle-aged woman would be free, and they would be in even more danger. Could it be that he had to take out the sovereign personage arm? However, Lu Ming immediately dismissed this idea. Lu Ming was confident that he could kill these people from the heavenly palace with the sovereign personage arm. However, the sovereign personage arm would be exposed. According to the bronze box, once one collected the complete sovereign personage body, one could sweep through the world, becoming unrivaled throughout history. It would be easy to flatten the heavenly palace. Such a horrifying sovereign personage body was already unimaginably precious. Life spirits, the 4 great treasures of the heavenly court, or other top treasures in the universe were far inferior to it. Therefore, as long as the news about the sovereign personage body leaked out, it could lead to an earth-shattering disaster. Lu Ming would never use it unless he had no other choice. So, what should he do now? Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he glanced at the young woman from the heavenly human tribe. The root of the problem was still this young woman. As long as he killed this woman, without her support, Tang Jun, Mo Chang, Rong Gong and the others would be able to turn the situation around. Clang! Lu Ming wielded the divine battle spear with all his strength and clashed with his second brother's battle axe. Both of them were pushed back. Now is the time. Lu Ming's eyes flashed and he cast the greater aurora art. He turned into an aurora and rushed towards the young woman from the heavenly human tribe. He held the divine battle spear tightly in his right hand and planned to use his divine power of origin. He knew that the older twin brother would not let him succeed so easily and would definitely stop him. He would use his origin power to defeat the older twin brother and then kill the young woman from the heavenly human tribe. As expected, the older twin brother stepped forward with murderous intent in his eyes. Four extremities celestial domain. Two cold yells sounded from the front and back of Lu Ming. Suddenly, a terrifying force enveloped Lu Ming. At the same time, four huge pillars rose around Lu Ming. These four pillars were of different colors and were all formed by the supreme power of heaven. The four pillars propped up a terrifying field energy, shrouding Lu Ming within it. Oh no, this is a joint attack. Lu Ming shouted in his heart. He could already see that this was the twin brothers' joint attack. The two of them each controlled two different kinds of supreme power of heaven. In total, they had four kinds of supreme power of heaven, which was almost the same as the perfect power of heaven. The four kinds of power of heaven formed a prison-like force field that trapped Lu Ming inside. Chapter 46-35. Break for me. Lu Ming shouted as he charged forward with the war god spear in hand. The war god spear pierced through the air and stabbed forward. However, when the spear of the war god approached, a wall of light appeared between the two pillars. This wall of light had four colors. It was clearly formed by the fusion of four types of supreme heavenly powers. Boom! The war god spear stabbed into the wall of light. The wall of light shook violently, producing a powerful rebound force that caused the war god spear to vibrate continuously. Lu Ming's body couldn't help but retreat. What a powerful force! I can't break it. Lu Ming's face darkened. Ha ha ha, kid, you're overestimating yourself. You want to break our four extremities celestial domain with your strength. Dream on. The younger brother of the twins laughed from behind. Now, it's our turn to attack. Lu Ming, die. The older brother of the twins shouted coldly. Suddenly, dozens of sword lights appeared around Lu Ming. These sword lights were all formed by the four types of supreme heavenly powers. They whistled out and stabbed toward Lu Ming. Buzz! The war god spear vibrated. Lu Ming stabbed out dozens of spear lights in an attempt to block these sword lights. However, the speed of these sword gleams was too fast and they were very powerful. It was beyond Lu Ming's imagination. Lu Ming couldn't block all of them with his full strength. His body was slashed by a sword light, and a deep wound appeared. His shoulder was also pierced by a sword light, and a hole appeared from the front to the back. Lu Ming was injured, and the others weren't in a good situation either. Mo Chang was in the most danger. He was already injured, and blood was constantly seeping out of the corner of his mouth. Tang Jun was also completely at a disadvantage. He could only barely hold on. On the other side, Rong Gong and Lin Yi were fighting against the blood tribe experts. Lin Yi's cultivation was the lowest here. He couldn't interfere in the battle between Lu Ming, Tang Jun, and Mo Chang. If he joined, not only would he not be of help, but he would also be killed by the other party. The only thing he could barely interfere in was the battle between Rong Gong and the blood tribe experts. However, even with Lin Yi joining, they were still no match for the blood tribe experts. However, the situation was slightly better. They could protect themselves for the time being. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before Lu Ming and the others were completely annihilated. Lu Ming, I'll help you. Qiu Qiu flew out of Lu Ming's wrist and transformed into a mirror. And shot out a pillar of light, wanting to envelop the older brother of the twins. However, the light pillar did not fly out of the four extremities celestial domain either, also being blocked by the surrounding light walls. Ha ha ha, no matter what attack you use, it will be blocked by the four extremities celestial domain. Once you enter the four extremities celestial domain, only death awaits you. Second brother laughed loudly. His killing intent was incomparably strong, and his gaze was also incomparably hot. Qiu Qiu roared and flew back to Lu Ming's wrist. Then, it wriggled rapidly and turned into an armor on Lu Ming's body. This is the aura of an origin divine weapon. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Lu Ming, among the broken source-level divine weapons that you fed me, I will first refine the broken armor. I can barely evolve it. Hopefully, it can block the other party's attack. Qiu Qiu's voice sounded. At this moment, the twins launched another attack. More than a dozen sword lights attacked Lu Ming from all directions. Lu Ming continued to brandish the battle god spear to block. However, there were still sword lights that weren't blocked and attacked Lu Ming's body. Clang! Clang! This time, several sword lights attacked Lu Ming's body. There were sounds of metal clashing, but they were reflected by the armor on Lu Ming's body. They didn't penetrate Lu Ming's armor and only left a few shallow marks on it. I blocked it. Lu Ming was overjoyed. At the same time, he messaged Qiu Qiu to ask if it was alright. Don't worry. They couldn't even penetrate my armor, so how could they injure me? Qiu Qiu's smug voice sounded. Lu Ming immediately relaxed. As expected of an origin divine weapon armor. After Qiu Qiu refined it, it still had a portion of the origin divine weapon armor's power and astonishing defensive capabilities. The combined attack of the twins was extremely powerful. Even a 9th-tier divine lord expert would die if they came in here. Unless it was a top-tier 9th-tier divine lord. But this power had been blocked by the armor Qiu Qiu had transformed into. The twins were somewhat dazed, and then their eyes began to burn with flames. These were the flames of greed. They could clearly see that the armor on Lu Ming's body had been transformed by that metallic lifeform. Not only could this metallic lifeform sense the treasures beneath the blood sea, it could also create armor with incredible defensive capabilities. This was a priceless treasure. They had to obtain it. Kill. The twins roared as they pushed their strength to the limit, pushing the power of their combined attack to its limits. This time, the sword light was even stronger, but when it struck Lu Ming's body, it still failed to penetrate Lu Ming's armor. It only left a deeper mark on it. Lu Ming felt even more confident. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming stepped into the air and charged forward, completely ignoring the attacks of the sword light. He poured all his strength into the war god spear and thrust it at the border of the four extremities celestial domain. Just like before, a four-colored wall of light appeared. When the war god spear struck it, it exploded with a heaven-shaking boom. The wall of light fiercely shuddered, but it still failed to pierce through. Kid, don't even think about breaking through our four extremities celestial domain. Even if you have powerful armor, so what? Once the others are killed and they come to kill you, only death will await you. The second brother roared, wanting to disturb Lu Ming's mind. Is that so? This spear, break. Lu Ming roared as the war god spear pierced out again. The difference was that this time, Lu Ming unleashed his origin source energy. The origin source energy in the origin seed poured into the war god spear. When the war god spear pierced the four-colored wall of light, the origin source energy erupted. The origin source energy triggered a trace of the original power of the war god spear, increasing its attack power. Boom! An earth-shaking boom rang out again. The difference was that this time, the four-colored wall of light shook violently and protruded outwards. When it protruded to its limit, it exploded. The four extremities celestial domain, the twins' combined attack was broken. As soon as the combined attack was broken, the twins' bodies shook violently. They involuntarily retreated and spat out a mouthful of blood. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. They had never imagined that their combined attack would be broken by a fifth-layer divine master. Origin source energy, it's the origin source energy. That's right, this kid has condensed the origin source seed, the second brother roared. Not good, the eldest brother seemed to have thought of something. His expression changed drastically as he looked at the young lady from the heavenly human tribe. Chapter 46-36. Not good, his target is Yi Chuling. The twin brothers roared and charged at the young woman with all their might. At the same time, The other Heavenly Palace experts' faces changed. The twin brothers also charged at Yi Chuling with all their might. But they were too late. Lu Ming's speed was extremely fast. With a flash of the greater Aurora art, he appeared in front of Yi Chuling and thrust his War God Spear forward. Whoosh! The War God Spear was like a bolt of lightning, thrusting towards Yi Chuling. Yi Chuling's face revealed a trace of fear. She was clearly frightened by Lu Ming. However, she was still relatively calm. With a soft shout, her hands quickly formed a seal, and a golden bead appeared between her eyebrows. The golden bead emitted a layer of light, and a light barrier appeared around her body, enveloping her. Boom! The War God Spear struck the light barrier, causing a loud explosion. But it didn't pierce through the barrier. The powerful force sent Yi Chuling flying, but it didn't cause any substantial damage. But it wasn't without benefits. Although it didn't cause any substantial damage to Yi Chuling, it interrupted Yi Chuling's buff. The experts of the Heavenly Palace were weakened, giving Mo Chang, Tang Jun, and the others a chance to catch their breath. A defensive treasure, damn it, I'll break it. Lu Ming roared, wanting to continue attacking to break Yi Chuling's defense. Yi Chuling's bead wasn't a defensive source-grade weapon, but some kind of treasure. Although this kind of treasure could activate a powerful defensive power, the energy it contained was often limited, and it couldn't last for too long. Unlike source-grade weapons, if you couldn't break through their defense, no matter how many moves you used, it would be useless. As for this kind of treasure, as long as you attacked continuously, it would naturally break when its energy was exhausted. Lu Ming, die. Don't even think about attacking again. Two furious roars could be heard. The twin brothers charged toward Lu Ming again, performing a joint attack. The Four Extremities Heavenly Domain shrouded Lu Ming again. Not good. Lu Ming couldn't be bothered to continue attacking Yi Chuling. His figure flickered rapidly as he tried to avoid being enveloped by the Four Extremities Celestial Domain. But Lu Ming still underestimated the Four Extremities Celestial Domain. This kind of combined attack technique would suddenly appear around Lu Ming. Although Lu Ming's speed was shocking, he still couldn't avoid the Four Extremities Celestial Domain and was once again enveloped within. Oh no, I'm in trouble. Lu Ming's expression was very ugly. Previously, he had been able to break through the Four Extremities Celestial Domain because of the sudden eruption of his origin energy, which boosted the offensive power of the Battle God Spear. However, the origin energy only had the power for one strike. Now that his source power was exhausted, what did he still have to break the Four Extremes Celestial Domain? Brat, your source energy is only enough for one strike, right? Now, let's see how you break our Four Extremities Celestial Domain. The twins shouted coldly as they pressed their hands forward. Streaks of sword light appeared around Lu Ming and stabbed towards Lu Ming, but were blocked by Chocho's armor. However, the real danger wasn't Lu Ming, but the others. Because Yi Chuling had once again used that kind of augmentation formation, the formation above the Heavenly Palace's people's heads appeared again. Let's gather together, quick! Tang Jun shouted. While the enemy's battle power was weakened, he gathered together with Mo Chang, Rong Gong, Lin Yi, and the others, using a defensive formation to block the enemy's attacks. Kill! Kill! The Heavenly Palace's experts had been augmented again, their battle power skyrocketing as they launched fierce attacks. Tang Jun and the others couldn't fight back and could only passively defend. I must break the Four Extremities Celestial Domain and kill that Yi Chuling, Lu Ming roared in his heart as he pushed his battle power to the limit. He completely ignored the surrounding attacks and rushed to the edge of the Four Extremities Celestial Domain, launching a storm of attacks. Boom! 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 The War God Spear continuously bombarded the four-colored light wall of the Four Extremities Celestial Domain, causing it to shake violently. However, it still didn't break. Damn it, just a little bit more. If my cultivation was one level higher, I would definitely be able to break the Four Extremities Celestial Domain. Lu Ming roared in his heart. Although the Four Extremities Celestial Domain was powerful, it wasn't ridiculously powerful. After all, the twin brothers were only 8th-level divine masters. Moreover, although the twin brothers each grasped two different kinds of supreme heavenly power, and the two of them worked together to gather 4 different kinds of supreme heavenly power. However, this was still controlled by 2 people, unlike Yi Chouxian, who could control 4 different kinds of supreme heavenly power. Only when one person controlled 4 different kinds of supreme heavenly power could it be called perfect heavenly power. It was impossible for 2 people to control it perfectly, and the power they could unleash was limited. However, Lu Ming's disadvantage was that his cultivation was too low. He was only a 5th-level divine master. If he had a 6th-level divine master cultivation, he could easily break the 4 extremities celestial domain. However, it was very difficult now. Break, break, break. Lu Ming roared, his long hair fluttering in the wind as he pushed his fighting strength to the limit. He fought until he went berserk, and the blood in his body seemed to be boiling as if it was going to burn. Tens of thousands of cells on his body shone brightly, as dazzling as stars. Tens of thousands of cells connected, forming a door. A yellow muddy road appeared unknowingly. What is this? A universal bridge. The twin brothers were stunned. They had never seen such a universal bridge before. It was actually a yellow muddy road, and it looked really shabby. At this moment, the puddle of blood on the yellow muddy road glowed, emanating a terrifying aura. As if something had triggered it, a layer of bloody light spread out and enveloped Lu Ming's body. Boom! At this moment, Lu Ming felt as if all the blood in his body had exploded like a volcano. A terrifying power surged from his blood into his body. At this moment, he felt as if he had endless power. Boom! The war god spear stabbed out once again, piercing the 4-colored light wall. With a boom, the 4-colored light wall directly exploded. It was even easier than the last time when he had used the origin force. The twin brothers retreated rapidly, coughing out large mouthfuls of blood. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. They couldn't understand how Lu Ming could still defeat their 4 extremities celestial domain and erupt with such terrifying power. Was this kid a monster? Kill! Lu Ming roared. He felt as if there was endless power all over his body. The powerful power was still erupting from his blood. If he didn't attack now, when would he? Lu Ming directly rushed out. This time, he didn't rush towards Yi Chuling, but the elder brother of the twins. He had to get rid of one of the twins first. That kind of joint attack was too troublesome. He didn't know why his power had suddenly increased. Therefore, he had to kill at least one of the twins while he still had power. As long as one of the twins was killed, there would be no joint attack. Even if Lu Ming's sudden increase in power disappeared, Lu Ming wouldn't be trapped and would have the initiative. Chapter 46-37. Lu Ming's speed was too fast. He turned into a bloody light and appeared in front of the older twin brother in an instant, thrusting his war god spear at him. The older twin brother was shocked and tried his best to block the attack. His combat strength was strong, even stronger than the younger twin brother, but he couldn't withstand a single blow from Lu Ming. Bang! The war god spear pierced through the older twin brother's battle axe and pierced through the younger twin brother's forehead, killing him on the spot. Big brother! The younger twin brother roared. At the same time, he was shocked. Lu Ming actually killed his older brother in one move. Didn't that mean he could also kill him in one move? His heart was filled with endless fear. For a moment, he didn't dare to move forward. After killing the older twin brother, Lu Ming didn't stop and rushed towards Yi Chuling. Yi Chuling was shocked and quickly retreated. The array also stopped, and she channeled all her strength into the golden pearl to strengthen her defense. How could she be faster than Lu Ming? In a few moves, Lu Ming caught up with her, thrusting his war god spear at the golden light shield. Boom! Yi Chuling's body was like a rubber ball, and she was sent flying. Cracks appeared on the golden light shield. Not good. The other experts of the Heavenly Palace were shocked. Let's counterattack and delay them. Lu Ming will win, Tang Jun shouted. Without the support of Yi Chuling's array, the strength of the Heavenly Palace's experts was greatly weakened. They wouldn't be so passive anymore. There wasn't much difference in strength between the two sides, and they could launch a counterattack. Tang Jun, Mo Chang, and the others didn't care about their injuries and attacked crazily. They desperately wanted to delay the experts of the Heavenly Palace. They knew that the turning point had arrived. As long as Lu Ming killed Yi Chuling, they could completely turn the situation around and defeat the experts of the Heavenly Palace. Even killing them wouldn't be impossible. Kill! Lu Ming roared and continued to attack. The War God Spear continuously bombarded the golden light shield around Yi Chuling. Boom! Boom! In a breath's time, Lu Ming blasted out 10 moves. Finally, the energy of the golden bead was exhausted and it exploded with a bang. Yi Chuling's beautiful face paled, her eyes filled with fear and even a trace of pleading. However, Lu Ming remained unmoved. This was the Celestial Clan. Moreover, they grasped powerful auxiliary force. They were a great enemy that had to be eliminated. As long as it was a formidable enemy, regardless of whether it was a man or a woman, Lu Ming would not have the slightest bit of pity for the fairer sex, nor would he show any mercy. The War God Spear swept out horizontally, and an incomparably violent destructive force instantly shattered Yi Chuling's soul, turning her into ashes. She was completely dead. Yi Chuling is dead. Damn it, let's go. The remaining masters of the Heavenly Palace shouted and tried to escape. This was especially true for the younger twin brother. He had already retreated before, but now he didn't even look back. He ran away at an astonishing speed, and his figure was almost nowhere to be seen. Lu Ming's brows furrowed slightly, and he wanted to pursue, but gave up in the end. The other party's strength was already very strong, and it would be hard for him to catch up with them. However, he couldn't let the others go. With a flicker, Lu Ming charged in another direction. In that direction, the middle-aged woman of the Celestial Clan was trying to escape. This person's opponent was Mo Chang, but Mo Chang was already severely injured, and his combat strength was greatly weakened. Naturally, he couldn't hold the middle-aged woman back, and she managed to escape. Just as the middle-aged woman was about to escape, Lu Ming arrived. Boom! The War God Spear pressed down, and it was incomparably huge, even bigger than a giant mountain range. The terrifying power frightened the middle-aged woman, and her eyes were filled with fear. No, the middle-aged woman screamed in fear, and she tried her best to resist. However, when the War God Spear pressed down, the middle-aged woman exploded, and her body and soul were destroyed. So powerful, Mo Chang, Rong Gong, and the others gasped. Lu Ming's combat strength was beyond their imagination. Killing an 8th-layer Divine Master expert was as easy as chopping vegetables. This kind of combat strength was equivalent to those peak Divine Masters. Lu Ming, on the other hand, was only a 5th-tier Divine Master. They had never heard of such combat prowess. Even Tang Jun was shocked, and his heart was pounding. This Lu Ming is really heaven-defying. My father wasn't as strong when he was at the Divine Master realm, right? Tang Jun muttered in his heart, but his hands didn't stop, and he continued to attack his opponents. Now, the remaining experts of the Heavenly Palace didn't have the heart to fight. All they wanted to do was to escape, and they were all scared to death by Lu Ming. However, it was obviously too late for them to escape now. Lu Ming had already arrived. The War God Spear stabbed out continuously, killing the pale-faced old man and the blood race expert. The curtain finally fell on the battle with Lu Ming's group's victory. Mo Chang, Rong Gong, and the others breathed out a long sigh of relief. This battle had been truly perilous. At one point, they felt despair, thinking that they were going to die here. The Heavenly Palace's combat strength was indeed much stronger than theirs, but who would have thought that Lu Ming would suddenly erupt? Lu Ming, you're really amazing. To think that you have so many trump cards. For a 5th-layer Divine Master to have this kind of combat strength is truly unimaginable. Lin Yi flew over, the shock in his eyes still lingering. Mo Chang and Rong Gong also flew over, their eyes filled with shock. Luck. Let's leave this place first. Lu Ming said. In truth, he also didn't understand how his combat strength had increased so much. He only knew that it had something to do with the pool of blood on the yellow dirt road. When he had time, he would have to study it. The group took the storage rings of the Heavenly Palace experts and left the area. After all, if one of them had escaped, the other side would definitely spread the news. Soon, the experts of the Heavenly Palace would arrive. They flew all the way until they were far away from the sea before stopping. Then, Mo Chang and the others swallowed divine pills and began to treat their injuries. The others were fine, but Mo Chang's injuries were very serious and needed some time to recover. My strength is starting to fade. Lu Ming felt that the blood in his body was no longer boiling, and the boiling temperature on his body had also dropped. That vast and powerful energy was also rapidly fading away until it completely disappeared. Lu Ming had recovered his original strength. It should be the power of that pool of blood on the yellow dirt road. What was that pool of blood? How could it be so shocking? Lu Ming's heart was in turmoil, and he found it difficult to calm down. He decided to try again. If he could completely control this power, his combat strength would skyrocket. Previously, by borrowing the power of the pool of blood, Lu Ming's combat strength was even stronger than when he used the origin source seed. Moreover, he could use it for a long time, unlike the origin source seed, which could only be used once. Lu Ming flew alone for some distance, then he circulated the forbidden energy. Tens of thousands of cells in his body lit up, and the door reappeared, as did the yellow dirt road. The pool of blood shone with a bright red luster. Chapter 46:38. The yellow mud road reappeared. The pool of blood was bright red as if fresh blood was flowing on it. However, no matter how hard Lu Ming tried to activate it, the pool of blood didn't react at all. What's going on? It worked before. Why doesn't it work now? Lu Ming frowned. He couldn't figure it out. He tried to activate the pool of blood with his spiritual sense, but the result was the same. Lu Ming tried all kinds of methods, but the result was the same. Could it be related to my state? When I was in danger before, I pushed my combat strength to the peak. My essence, chi, and spirit seemed to have broken through some kind of spiritual boundary, Lu Ming thought. He felt that it was very possible. Previously, when he was trapped in the twin brothers' joint attack technique, Mo Chang, Tang Jun, and the rest were caught in a dangerous situation. Under such circumstances, Lu Ming's condition had broken through a certain critical point and reached a certain peak. His battle blood was boiling. Perhaps, that was the reason for the abnormality in the bloodstain. However, that state wasn't something that could be entered at will. It wasn't under Lu Ming's control at all. That state was a bit similar to an epiphany. It was mysterious, illusory, and difficult to capture. It could be said that it could only be encountered by chance. Even if Lu Ming was in danger next time, he might not be able to reach that state. Whatever, it's beneficial and harmless anyway. In the end, Lu Ming shook his head and gave up trying. He took out a few pieces of desolation crystals and absorbed them to restore his cultivation. On the other side, the twin brother fled for his life like a stray dog. He didn't stop until he flew out of the immortal burial blood sea. Damn Lu Ming, I want you to die a horrible death. The second brother kept screaming as if only by doing so could he vent the fear in his heart. This time, he was really scared. In his eyes, Lu Ming was 1,000,000 times more terrifying than a devil. I can't let this lad live. I have to get rid of him. Otherwise, he will become a shadow in my heart. I have to spread the news. If they know that Lu Ming is here, I believe many people will be very interested. After a while, the second brother calmed down. His eyes flashed with cold killing intent again. Lu Ming, who had a forbidden body, was now the target of the heavenly palace. If they could kill Lu Ming, the reward would be frighteningly high. Kid, the immortal burial blood sea will be your burial ground. The second brother roared and flew away. After about a day, Lu Ming, Tang Jun, Rong Gong and the others had completely recovered. Mo Chang's previous injuries were quite serious. Although he had not fully recovered, he had recovered about 70 to 80%. It was not a problem for him to burst out with his peak strength for a short period of time. Suddenly, Lu Ming raised his brows. At this moment, he suddenly felt that something was amiss with the human king's arm in the chaos ring. He could not help but stop. His spiritual sense condensed in the chaos ring. Seeing Lu Ming suddenly stop, Tang Jun, Mo Chang and the others also stopped. When they first entered the core battlefield, Missouri Chang seemed to be the leader. After all, his cultivation base was the highest. But after the last battle, Their small team seemed to be led by Lu Ming. In that battle, Lu Ming and Tang Jun both displayed terrifying combat strength. Tang Jun's combat strength was probably not weaker than Mo Chang's. Lu Ming was even more terrifying. It was simply unbelievable. Lu Ming suddenly stopped. They most likely knew something was wrong, so they all stopped and protected Lu Ming in the middle. The bronze box in the Chaos Ring was constantly shaking. Lu Ming opened the bronze box and saw the Human King's arm. It was shining with a mysterious light. The palm was pointing in a direction. "What's going on?" Lu Ming asked. Of course, he was asking about the bronze box. "I sensed it again. The Human King's arm has sensed the other parts of the Human King's body." A line of words appeared on the bronze box. "Sensed it again? Where is it? How far is it from the Thousand Autumn battlefield? Or is it in the Thousand Autumn battlefield?" Lu Ming asked hurriedly. "It's not far away. It's in the so-called Immortal Burial Sea of Blood." Another line of words appeared on the bronze box. "What?" Lu Ming's heart shook violently. This was really beyond his expectations. The other parts of the Human King's body were actually in the Immortal Burial Sea of Blood. His heart could not help but beat faster. This was a great opportunity. Right now, all the reciprocity existences had entered the hall at the center of the battlefield. The strongest people in the Immortal Burial Sea of Blood were only divine lords, so he might have an opportunity to obtain the other parts of the Human King's body. This opportunity could not be missed. With a thought, Lu Ming withdrew his spiritual sense from the Chaos Ring. "Lu Ming, what's wrong?" Mo Chang asked. "Everyone, let's go in that direction." Qiu sensed that there might be treasures in that direction. Lu Ming said. He directly made up an excuse and pushed it to Qiu. Qiu secretly despised him. When did I say such a thing? Hearing that Qiu had sensed something, Mo Chang and the others' eyes lit up. They naturally did not object. Immediately, everyone went in the direction that Lu Ming had mentioned. On the way, they discovered several groups of people from the Heavenly Palace in the distance. They did not charge at them. As soon as they saw them, they went around them. Seeing Lu Ming and the others retreating quickly, the groups of people from the Heavenly Palace did not chase after them. About 2 days later, Lu Ming and the others came to another sea area. "Hey, what's going on with this sea area?" Lin Yi said in surprise after arriving at this sea area. "Lin Yi, what did you find?" Tang Jun asked. "I found that there are very few insects in this sea area. Moreover, the remaining insects are also moving in one direction." Lin Yi said. "Moving in one direction?" Lu Ming and the others were puzzled. Of course, Lu Ming had another thought. Because the bronze box indicated that the other parts of the human monarch's body were very likely in this sea area. Then, could the insects moving in one direction have something to do with the human monarch's body? Lu Ming hoped that was not the case. Because he did not want to cause too much of a commotion. It would be best if he could get the other parts of the human monarch's body quietly. If he caused too much of a commotion, it would be troublesome. "Lin Yi, where did those insects go?" "Let's go and see," Lu Ming said. "Follow me," Lin Yi said and flew in a direction first. They were very fast and soon crossed a long distance. At this time, they could not help but look at the sea below with surprise. In the blood-red sea below, there were a large number of insects. These insects were very large. Through the sea, they could see huge black shadows. Chapter 46-39. The insects in the sea were all heading in the same direction. The insects are all heading in the same direction. That's great. Doesn't that mean there are no more insects in the sea? We can go to the bottom of the sea and search for treasures to our heart's content. Mo Chang was delighted. They did not dare to enter the sea primarily out of fear of those insects. But now that all the insects in the sea were heading in the same direction, wouldn't that mean that most of the sea was completely devoid of insects? Rong Gong, Lin Yi, and the others were also delighted. "Come, let's go down and take a look," Mo Chang said. Just as he was about to charge into the sea, he suddenly grimaced and looked into the distance. In the distance, Several black dots were rapidly approaching. They were too fast, and in a few moments, they weren't far from them. Not good. It's the people of the Heavenly Palace. Retreat. Mo Chang roared as he flew into the distance. Lu Ming, Tang Jun, and the others followed, but the experts of the Heavenly Palace were extremely fast, constantly closing in on Lu Ming's group. One of the heavenly human race experts was at the very front, and his speed was the most astonishing. It wouldn't be long before he caught up to Lu Ming's group. A 9th-level God Lord. This was a 9th-level God Lord. Lu Ming's group grimaced. If this were an ordinary 9th-level God Lord from an ordinary race, Lu Ming would have some confidence in dealing with him, but this was a 9th-level God Lord from the heavenly human race. Those of the heavenly human race who could cultivate to 9th-level God Lord were definitely not weak, and their fighting power was definitely not weak either. Moreover, there were 8 other experts of the Heavenly Palace behind them, all of them 8th-level and 7th-level God Lords. If they worked together, Lu Ming's group would be in danger. Hihi, our luck isn't bad. Tang Jun, daughter of Tang Feng, since we've run into you, don't think of leaving. The 9th-level God Lord sneered as he stared at Tang Jun with a scorching gaze. The other members of the Heavenly Palace also sneered as they flew with all their strength, closing the distance between them and Lu Ming's group. It didn't take long for them to catch up. Lu Ming and the others planned to fight with all their might. At this moment, the seawater in front of him surged, and 7 or 8 figures suddenly rushed out. It's Feng Yaoli and the others. Mo Chang was overjoyed when he saw the 7 or 8 figures. The 7 or 8 figures in front were Heaven Destroyer's men. The leader was a large man with an extremely muscular body. He exuded the aura of a primitive god spirit. This was a 9th-level primitive god spirit. As soon as they appeared, they discovered Lu Ming's group and the people from the Heavenly Palace. Trash from the Heavenly Palace, you're courting death, Feng Yaoli said coldly. He took to the air and charged at Lu Ming and the others. Damn it, let's retreat. That 9th-level Divine Master Celestial had an ugly look on his face. Then, he turned and left. The other celestial humans followed, flying into the distance even faster than when they were chasing Lu Ming's group. Feng Yaoli's team was not weaker than theirs. With the addition of Lu Ming's team, they would definitely be at a disadvantage if they were to go against them. Therefore, when they saw that Lu Ming's team had reinforcements, they immediately retreated. Soon, the people from the Heavenly Palace were nowhere to be seen. Feng Yaoli and the others didn't chase after them. Feng Yaoli, we're lucky to have met you this time, Mo Chang said. Thank you. Thank you, Big Brother Feng. Tang Jun also stepped forward. He seemed to be very familiar with that large man. Miss Tang Jun, Mo Chang, with your group's strength, you actually dared to come to the immortal burial blood sea. Don't you know that this place is very dangerous? Feng Yaoli said. It wasn't that he looked down on Lu Ming's group. He was just worried. Haha, we're just here to try our luck. Also, don't underestimate the strength of the 5 of us. You can look down on me, but if you look down on Tang Jun and Lu Ming, you'll be in big trouble. Mo Chang laughed. Of course, I know Tang Jun's strength. She has a forbidden body, so she's definitely not weak. However, you still lack the battle strength of a 9th-tier Divine Master. Many of the groups operating in the immortal burial blood sea have 9th-tier Divine Master battle strength. You'd better not be careless. How about this, we'll move together later. Feng Yaoli said. Mo Chang opened his mouth. He really wanted to tell them about how Lu Ming had displayed his invincible might and killed the experts from the Heavenly Palace. However, he swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. The main reason was that it was too unbelievable. He was afraid that Feng Yaoli and the others wouldn't believe him. All right, then let's move together. Tang Jun nodded. In the immortal burial blood sea, their strength was indeed a little weak. With Feng Yaoli and the others moving together, their safety would be greatly increased. Feng Yaoli, what's going on with this sea region? Why are all the insects in the sea region heading in one direction? Mo Chang asked curiously. Lu Ming and the others also pricked up their ears and listened carefully. Lu Ming especially wanted to get some useful information from this and see if it had anything to do with the other parts of the human king's body. We don't know the specifics either. We only know that blood qi has suddenly spread from the bottom of the sea. These insects seem to have been attracted by the blood qi, Feng Yaoli said. That's right. Blood qi from the bottom of the sea? Mo Chang and the others were very surprised. Blood qi from the sea, which was originally blood-like, would attract other insects. This was indeed strange. Lu Ming, on the other hand, looked pensive. Regardless of whether it's a bad thing or not, the insects in this sea region are all gathering in one place. There are very few insects in other places. We can search for treasures at the bottom of the sea without worrying about being attacked by insects. There's no time to lose. Let's enter the sea now, Feng Yaoli said. Naturally, Mo Chang, Tang Jun, and the others did not object. Everyone rushed into the blood sea and sank to the bottom of the sea. After reaching the bottom of the sea, they began to search for treasures. Sure enough, they searched for a long distance without being attacked by any insects. After a while, they found a strange piece of metal. Every time the killing intent and murderous aura subsided, a large number of experts would enter the deity burial sea region to search for treasures. After so many years, there were not many treasures left in the deity burial sea region. Therefore, even if they did not have to worry about the insects, they would not be able to find a large number of treasures. However, it was much easier than before. Feng Yaoli and the others were very excited. In the blink of an eye, a few hours had passed. They found several pieces of strange metals and 2 damaged source-level divine weapons. That was already a considerable harvest. There's someone ahead. Suddenly, someone shouted. Sure enough, there were 9 figures on a huge underwater mountain in front of them. The terrain at the bottom of the sea was very complicated. Just like on land, there were mountains, canyons, and plains. It's them. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. Those 9 figures were the experts from the Heavenly Palace. They were the 9 people who chased after Lu Ming and the others. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. Last time, those bastards escaped. This time, let's see where they can run to. Brothers and sisters, kill them, Feng Yaoli shouted and took a step forward. His burly body broke through the seawater and rushed toward the people from the Heavenly Palace. Chapter 4640. Kill. The others followed Feng Yaoli and charged at the people from the Heavenly Palace. However, the people from the Heavenly Palace were very calm. They had no intention of running away. They stood there calmly with a cold smile on their faces. Something's not right. Lu Ming's heart sank. Something's not right. Last time, when they saw Feng Yaoli and the others appear, they turned and left. But this time, they didn't run away. This is very strange. Clearly, Lu Ming wasn't the only one who thought of this. Tang Jun, Feng Yaoli, and the others all thought the same thing. Their charging figures suddenly stopped. He's cold. Something's not right. These guys aren't running away, and they're acting so fearless. Could this be an ambush? Feng Yaoli said. He swept his gaze around and spread out his spiritual sense. The geography of the seabed was very complicated. Mountains and valleys were densely packed. Moreover, because of the blood-colored seawater, his spiritual sense was obstructed by the eye, so he couldn't explore a large area. It's too late to find out now. On the side of the Heavenly Palace, the 9th-level Divine Master Heavenly Human sneered. The next moment, swoosh, 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 7 figures charged out of a valley behind Lu Ming's group. They were also experts from the Heavenly Palace. There's also a 9th-level Divine Master, Feng Yaoli whispered, his face darkening. The other people's expressions changed, becoming somewhat unsightly. No wonder the experts from the Heavenly Palace were so calm. They had joined forces with others. There was a team lying in ambush in the valley. This meant that the Heavenly Palace had 2 9th-level Divine Masters, and the total number of people they had was greater than theirs. This is bad. Kill. Kill all the traitors. The 9th-level Divine Master Heavenly Human roared. His body moved like a bolt of lightning as he charged at Lu Ming's group. The other experts from the Heavenly Palace also charged at Lu Ming's group. Behind them, the 7 masters from the Heavenly Palace also charged towards Lu Ming and the others. The 2 teams from the Heavenly Palace were extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they were closing in on Lu Ming's group. Before they even arrived, attacks were already flying towards Lu Ming's group. Lu Ming and the others could only focus on defense. They set up layers of defenses and blocked the Heavenly Palace's attacks. However, if they kept defending like this, they would be too passive. Sooner or later, they would be broken through. Damn it! We're short of a 9th-tier Divine Master. Otherwise, why would we fear them? Feng Yaoli growled, his anger soaring to the skies. Although they had fewer people than the other party, it wasn't by much. Even if their overall combat strength wasn't as good as the other parties, it wouldn't be too far off. Most importantly, the other party had 2 9th-tier Divine Masters, which was the most troublesome. It was very easy for a 9th-level Divine Master expert to deal with an 8th-level Divine Master. They could even kill him instantly. If they couldn't stop the 2 9th-level Divine Masters, they wouldn't be able to fight. Feng Yaoli, you should be able to deal with that 9th-level Divine Master from the Celestial race, right? At this moment, Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Feng Yaoli and the rest. Of course. I have complete confidence in dealing with that fellow, Feng Yaoli said. He was a primitive god spirit and possessed formidable fighting strength. In a battle of the same level, he wouldn't be any weaker than the Celestial race expert. Good. Leave this 9th-level Divine Master of the Celestial race and that 9th-level Divine Master of the Angel race to me, Lu Ming said. The 9th-level Divine Master expert in the second team wasn't from the Celestial race, but the Angel race. In the battle just now, Lu Ming had already noticed that this Angel race expert was only a 10-winged angel. He was much weaker than the 9th-level Divine Master of the Celestial race. Lu Ming was still somewhat confident in dealing with this Angel race expert. Even if he couldn't use the blood on the yellow dirt road, he could rely on his own strength and origin energy to contend against this Angel race expert. Moreover, with Chocho's assistance, if the Angel race expert let down his guard and suddenly exploded with power, he might be able to heavily injure him. Lu Ming was confident in himself, so he made this suggestion, but Feng Yaoli and the other members of his team weren't so convinced. That's a 9th-level Divine Master. Can you really deal with him? If you can't, don't try to be brave. If you lose, we'll all be in danger. The others began to speak up. They didn't doubt Lu Ming's fighting strength. They didn't doubt the fighting strength of a taboo body. In the Battle of Zenith Supreme Immortal City, Lu Ming had suppressed the supreme genius of the Celestial race, Yi Choxian, and defeated the perfect heaven's power. This was enough to prove Lu Ming's fighting strength. However, Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the 5th-level Divine Master realm. The difference between a 5th-level Divine Master and a 9th-level Divine Master was simply too great. It was so great that it was unimaginable and difficult to cross. I believe in Lu Ming. He'll have no problem dealing with that Angel race expert. That's right. I also believe in him. His fighting strength will shock all of you. Everyone, rather than passively defending, why don't we take a gamble? Mo Chang, Rong Gong, and Lin Yi all spoke up. Hearing Mo Chang and the others say this, Feng Yaoli began to hesitate. He knew that Mo Chang and the others weren't people who spoke without thinking. There had to be a reason why they believed in Lu Ming so much. Could Lu Ming's fighting strength really be that freakish? At this moment, the attacks of the Heavenly Palace experts were becoming fiercer and fiercer. They had no qualms about defending themselves. They used all their killing moves with astonishing might. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before they broke through the defenses of Lu Ming and the others. Feng Yaoli, don't hesitate. Lu Ming will definitely be fine. Tang Jun also spoke up. Okay, then let's take a gamble. Leave that 9th-level Divine Master of the Celestial race to me. Leave that 9th-level Divine Master of the Angel race to Lu Ming. Brothers, let's do it. Feng Yaoli roared. He removed his defenses and began his counterattack. His body rapidly grew until he was 100 zhong tall. He brandished his saber and slashed at the 9th-level divine master of the celestial race. Of course, Feng Yaoli could grow even larger. With his current cultivation, he could even grow to the size of a planet. But there was no need for that. In the immortal burial sea of blood, if he grew to that size, he would only attract the attacks of those insects. He just needed to grow to a more comfortable size. Clang! Feng Yaoli and the 9th-level divine master of the celestial race exchanged blows. Violent energy exploded, and both of them retreated a few steps. Kill! At the same time, Mo Chang and the others also stopped defending. Instead, they began their counterattack, using their killing moves. Instead of defending, you counterattack. You're really courting death. But even if you defend, you'll still die. In that case, I'll send you on your way sooner rather than later. The 9th-level divine master of the celestial race sneered. His entire body was shrouded in the power of heaven as he charged at Feng Yaoli. You'll be the ones to die. Feng Yaoli roared as he swung his saber to counterattack. At the same time, Lu Ming wielded his war god spear and charged at the 9th-level divine master of the angel race. Lu Ming had used the great imitation art to change his aura and appearance. The other party didn't know Lu Ming's true identity. Seeing that a mere 5th-level divine master like Lu Ming dared to charge at him, he was simply courting death. The 9th-level divine master of the angel race didn't take Lu Ming seriously at all. His sacred light condensed into a saber and slashed at Lu Ming. Chapter 46-41. The 9th-level god Lord Angel slashed his sword at Lu Ming. He used 50% of his strength in this attack. Let alone a 5th-level godlord, even an 8th-level godlord would not dare to take it head-on. They would be heavily injured. Underestimating me? Very good. Lu Ming was not angry. On the contrary, he was delighted. What he wanted was for his opponent to underestimate him and be careless. Only then would he have a chance. Little ball. Lu Ming messaged Little Ball. Leave it to me. Little Ball called out and flew out of Lu Ming's wrist. It turned into a mirror and shot out a beam of light that enveloped the angel. Heaven Splitter. Lu Ming bellowed and performed the heaven-breaking style. At the same time, the power of origin in the origin seed surged into the divine combat spear, turning into a bright spear gleam and piercing toward the vital point between the other party's eyebrows. Enveloped by Little Ball's beam of light, the 9th-level god Lord Angel fell into a momentary daze. Lu Ming's attack rapidly approached, and it seemed like it would stab into the angel's forehead. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! This damned illusion! Break for me! The 9th-level god Lord Angel furiously roared. The sacred light in his body erupted with all his strength, instantly breaking through Little Ball's beam of light. But Lu Ming's attack had already arrived. Lu Ming's attack that erupted with the power of origin had already surpassed that of this angel. Now that Lu Ming had taken the initiative to attack, how could the angel possibly block it? At this critical moment, the angel's body suddenly shrank, wanting to dodge the war god spear's attack. In truth, this move was very useful, allowing him to dodge the war god spear's thrust. But Lu Ming had managed to seize the initiative with great difficulty, so how could he let his opponent escape? Moreover, his origin energy only had the power for a single attack. Lu Ming pressed the war god spear downward. The war god spear whipped downward. Not good. The 9th-level god Lord Angel was alarmed. He moved to the side, at the same time laying down layers of defenses around his body. But in the end, he was unable to completely dodge. Boom! The war god spear landed heavily on the other party's body. The violent power directly smashed through the other party's defenses. With a loud bang, the lower half of the angel's body exploded and turned into dust. The upper half of his body smashed heavily into the bottom of the sea, creating a large crater. He lay in the crater, coughing up mouthfuls of blood. Although he managed to avoid being hit in his vitals, he was still heavily injured and no longer had the strength to continue fighting. Originally, the other party would not have been beaten to such a state so easily. It was mainly because he was too careless and was then affected by Chocho, which was why he was defeated by Lu Ming in one fell swoop and severely injured. This time, Everyone's eyes widened. The experts from the heavenly palace stared with their eyes wide open, as if they had seen a ghost. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. As for Feng Yaoli and the others, they were all extremely shocked. When Lu Ming had said that he had a way to deal with that 9th-level Godlord Angel, they had been completely skeptical. They had not been confident at all. They had not expected Lu Ming to be so strong that he could heavily injure a 9th-level Godlord with one move. Now that the other party had lost a 9th-level Godlord, they no longer had to fear him. Their morale was instantly boosted. Kill. Kill them. Feng Yaoli and the others roared, their attacks frenzied. Kill. Lu Ming coldly barked. He wanted to take advantage of the other party's weakness. Now that the angel expert was heavily injured, how could Lu Ming let go of this opportunity? He swooped down and charged at the angel expert. Save me. The angel expert roared, deep fear in his eyes. Kid, don't even think about it. Nearby, an 8th-level God-Lord Celestial Race expert charged toward Lu Ming. But Chocho's mirror shot out another pillar of light that enveloped this Celestial Race expert. This Celestial Race expert was even worse off than the 9th-level God-Lord, and he was momentarily dazed. This momentary daze was enough to claim his life. The war god spear thrust toward this Celestial Race expert's forehead. By the time he reacted, it was already too late. The war god spear had pierced through his forehead, its destructive energy directly annihilating his soul. An 8th-level god Lord Human expert was instantly killed by Lu Ming with Chocho's help. The others felt a chill run down their spines. Lu Ming did not stop there, continuing to attack the 9th-level god Lord Angel. This 9th-level god Lord Angel crazily roared and struggled. He did not want to be killed just like this. However, he only had half his body left, and he was heavily injured. He did not even have 10% of his strength left. No matter how unwilling he was or how much he struggled, it was all for naught. The war god spear trembled, and spear light descended from above, enveloping the 9th-level god Lord Angel. After several unwilling screams, there was no sound. A 9th-level god Lord Angel was dead. Okay. Kill these bastards from the heavenly palace. Feng Yaoli's group was brimming with morale as they continued to attack. In contrast, the morale of the heavenly palace's side was low, and some of them were trembling as they looked at Lu Ming. Although the two sides had about the same number of people, the heavenly palace's side was steadily losing ground. A moment of carelessness led to a 7th-level God-Lord expert being cleaved in two by Tang Jun's sword, dying on the spot. This caused the heavenly palace's fighting spirit to weaken even further. Retreat, retreat. The 9th-level God-Lord of the celestial race roared. After exchanging several blows with Feng Yaoli, he began to retreat. He saw that the 9th-tier Divine Master Angel was severely injured by Lu Ming in one move. He was then swiftly killed. He was scared. He was really scared. Lu Ming's fighting strength terrified him. He was afraid that if Lu Ming attacked him, he would suffer the same fate as that 9th-level Godlord Angel. Thus, he decisively gave the order to retreat. The other members of the Heavenly Palace were in a similar state. Not daring to fight, they all began to retreat, hoping to escape. Kill. Don't let them escape. Feng Yaoli's group roared as they madly pursued. Lu Ming cast the Great Aurora skill and chased after him rapidly. The people of the Heavenly Palace were focused on escaping. They had no intention of fighting. The higher the cultivation level, the faster they fled. On the contrary, those with lower cultivation levels fell behind and were quickly caught up by Feng Yaoli, Lu Ming, and a few others who were the fastest. Save us. They've caught up to us. Save us. Several 7th-level god lords from the Heavenly Palace screamed at the top of their lungs. But the people running at the front didn't dare to turn around. They were hoping that the people behind them would delay them for a while so that they could escape. They won't save you. Let's send you on your way. Feng Yaoli's face was savage as he slashed out with his saber, instantly killing two 7th-level godlords. Lu Ming and Chocho worked together, thrusting out with their spear and killing another 7th-level godlord. Behind them, Tang Jun, Mo Chang, and a few others arrived and killed the remaining 7th-level godlords. However, The Celestial Palace experts at the 8th level of the Godlord realm and above seized the opportunity to flee. Chapter 46-42. Soon, the curtains fell on the battle, and Lu Ming's side emerged victorious. Not a single person from their side had died in this battle, and the Heavenly Palace had suffered heavy losses instead. Ha ha ha, delightful. This battle is all thanks to Lu Ming. Lu Ming, your strength truly amazes me. Feng Yaoli laughed heartily as he looked at Lu Ming in amazement and disbelief. The others with Feng Yaoli also looked at Lu Ming in the same manner. It was all thanks to Lu Ming that they had been able to turn the tide of the battle. Otherwise, they would have been surrounded by the people of the Heavenly Palace and 2 9th-level Divine Lords. They would have been no match for them, and they would have been the ones to suffer heavy losses. In the worst-case scenario, they would have been completely wiped out. You flatter me. I was just lucky. Lu Ming replied modestly. The group continued to search for treasures in this region of the sea. However, it was clear that many people had noticed that the insects were converging in one direction and had entered the seabed to search for treasures. Thus, although they had made some gains, they had not gained much. Very quickly, a few days passed. Everyone, why don't we go to the place where the insects are converging? At this moment, Lu Ming suggested. Lu Ming had originally wanted to find a reason to go alone, but in the immortal burial sea of blood, one person was too weak. If he ran into the experts of the Heavenly Palace, it would be very dangerous. Although he had been able to kill a 9th-level Divine Lord, that was because the other party had underestimated him. He had only managed to heavily injure the other party by using all his techniques and cooperating with Chocho. Moreover, origin energy could only be used once. After that, he would no longer be able to use enough strength to heavily injure a 9th-level Divine Lord. If there were 2 9th-level Divine Lord experts, he would have no choice but to run. Just like last time, if Feng Yaoli and the others had not blocked the other people of the Heavenly Palace, how could he have had the chance to kill that 9th-level Divine Lord Angel? In addition, he could not find a good reason to leave alone. If he found a reason to leave alone in the immortal burial sea of blood, others would find it very strange. Therefore, Lu Ming suggested that everyone go together. I was thinking the same thing. Those bugs are gathering in a certain direction. Something must have happened in that direction. Maybe there's a supreme treasure that attracted those bugs. Feng Yaoli said. But, with so many insects gathering together, I'm afraid it'll be very dangerous. Someone said cautiously. It's fine. Let's approach slowly and observe from afar. If something is wrong, we'll retreat immediately. Everything will be fine, Feng Yaoli said. Everyone else nodded in agreement. In fact, everyone was very curious and wanted to go over and take a look. Immediately, everyone stopped looking for treasures and flew towards the direction where the insects were gathered. Without the hindrance of the insects, everyone's speed was extremely fast. In just a few hours, they had crossed a long distance. At this time, they met another group of people. They were Heaven Destroyer's people. They were also curious and wanted to go to the place where the insects were gathered. Everyone gathered together and set off together. They met more and more people along the way. There were Heaven Destroyer's people and Heavenly Palace's people. They didn't fight with Heavenly Palace's people because both sides had a lot of people. If they fought, neither side would have the confidence to win. Both sides were restraining themselves. Soon, 7 or 8 huge underwater mountains appeared in front of Lu Ming and the others. On those mountains, Lu Ming and the others also found some Heaven Destroyer's people and Heavenly Palace's people. The two sides didn't fight. They seemed to be very cautious. They stood on the mountains and looked inside. Lu Ming and the others flew towards Heaven Destroyer's people. Keep your voice down. Don't alarm the insects. Someone reminded them in a low voice. Lu Ming and the others were shocked. They immediately retracted their aura and landed on the mountain. Then, they looked inside the mountain and couldn't help but be shocked. Inside the mountain was a huge basin surrounded by mountain peaks. The basin was very low and sunken. Countless insects gathered in the basin. What was shocking was that these insects were crazily killing each other. Insects of different shapes and sizes were crazily killing each other. The basin was filled with the corpses of various insects. Some insects were gnawing on the corpses of other insects. Some insects were crazily killing each other. It was extremely tragic. At every moment, powerful insects were being torn apart. Some insects were shockingly powerful. Lu Ming felt that if he went up, he would be torn apart in an instant. They definitely had the strength of a peak almighty. It was no wonder that Heaven Destroyers and Heavenly Palaces people didn't dare to breathe. Lu Ming and the others also didn't dare to breathe. There were too many insects in the basin. There were at least 100,000 of them. Although many had died, there were still more than 50,000 left. If these powerful insects rushed out, they would be torn apart. Look, there's really a trace of blood-red mist in the basin. Are those insects crazy because of this blood-red mist? Tang Jun was beside Lu Ming and transmitted his voice to Lu Ming. It should be, Lu Ming said. The blood-red mist was clearly visible even in the blood-red seawater. Lu Ming's face didn't show much of an expression, but he was very uneasy. This was because the arm of the human king in the Chaos Ring was constantly trembling. The bronze box told him that the other parts of the human king's body were in this basin. After knowing that the other parts of the human king's body were in this basin, Lu Ming found it hard to remain calm. He wanted to get it, but what could he do with so many insects? These insects are constantly killing each other. Although I don't know why, from the looks of it, they'll probably all die out later. When these insects are all dead, I'll go and take a look. Lu Ming thought. The group hid on the mountain peak and watched quietly. Lu Ming discovered that some insects would transform and become stronger after eating the corpses of other insects. The killing became more and more intense. At this time, on the land not far from the immortal burial sea of blood, the second twin brother was revealing Lu Ming's information to a group of Heavenly Palace experts. That's right, it's Lu Ming with the forbidden body. His in this core battlefield, and his in the immortal burial sea of blood. The second twin brother said. Lu Ming with the forbidden body. Very good. If we can kill him, it will be a great achievement. Let's go to the immortal burial sea of blood. The leader of this group of Heavenly Palace experts waved his hand, and the group headed toward the immortal burial sea of blood. Lu Ming, so many people are heading toward the immortal burial sea of blood. I'll see how you die. The second brother growled, his eyes flashing with ferocious killing intent. During this period, he had been looking for Heavenly Palace experts everywhere, revealing that Lu Ming was in the immortal burial sea of blood. He wanted these people to go to the immortal burial sea of blood to hunt down Lu Ming. During this period, many Heavenly Palace experts had already rushed to the immortal burial sea of blood. Chapter 46-43. The younger twin sneered for a while, then turned around and flew in another direction. He wanted to continue searching for more experts from the Heavenly Palace to rush to the immortal burial blood sea and force Lu Ming into a corner. While the younger brother was thinking, the void suddenly trembled, and a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. The younger brother almost jumped up in fright and instinctively retreated. However, when he saw the appearance of the person who came, he let out a long sigh of relief. Senior Ganliu, so it's you. Why are you here in the Thousand Autumn battlefield? The younger twin hurriedly bowed respectfully. That's right, the figure that suddenly appeared was Yelling Tianshou's father, Yelling Ganliu. After entering the Thousand Autumn battlefield, he had been looking for Lu Ming, but to no avail. So it's you, kid. Where's your elder brother? Why isn't he with you? Yelling Ganliu glanced at his second brother and said faintly. My elder brother was killed. Second brother said, revealing great sorrow, as well as hatred. Oh! Yelling Ganliu let out a soft "oh" and didn't pay much attention. In the Thousand Autumn battlefield, dying was a very normal thing. There was nothing to be surprised about. It's all that Lu Ming's fault. That damn Lu Ming, the younger brother roared. What did you say? Who? This time, Yelling Ganliu's eyes widened, and a terrifying killing intent erupted. The cold killing intent seemed to freeze the area. The killing intent of a heavenly venerable was earth-shattering. The younger brother was shocked and stammered, Lu Ming, that forbidden physique Lu Ming. Lu Ming, do you know where Lu Ming is? Tell me quickly, yelling Ganliu urged. At the mention of Lu Ming, he could no longer remain calm. Could it be that yelling Ganliu also wants to kill Lu Ming? He looks like he has a deep hatred for him. That's great. The younger twin roared in his heart, revealing a look of ecstasy. In the immortal burial blood sea, that little bastard Lu Ming is in the immortal burial blood sea. He joined forces with others to kill my elder brother in the immortal burial blood sea. Second brother said. Immortal burial blood sea. Very good. Lu Ming, I'll make you wish you were dead. Let's go. Lead the way. Take me to the place where your brother was killed. Yelling Ganliu said. Yes, senior. Second brother naturally agreed gladly. He was overjoyed in his heart. If an Empyrean wanted to kill Lu Ming, then Lu Ming was dead for sure. Second brother immediately pointed out the direction. Yelling Ganliu waved his hand and led second brother towards the immortal burial blood sea. Empyrean venerate powerhouses were too fast. Soon, they arrived at the immortal burial blood sea, where the twins had fought Lu Ming. After arriving, yelling Ganliu closed his eyes and carefully sensed for Lu Ming's aura. After a while, yelling Ganliu opened his eyes. A trace of displeasure flashed through his eyes. It was very difficult for auras to remain in the blood-red seawater. Soon, they would be washed away by the blood-red seawater. Just now, he hadn't sensed Lu Ming's aura at all. He was unwilling to give up and continued to sense, but the result was still the same. The immortal burial blood sea is only so big. I don't believe I can't find you. Yelling Ganliu snorted coldly. His figure flashed and disappeared from where he was. At the same time, he frantically spread out his spiritual sense to search for Lu Ming. Although the insects of the immortal burial blood sea were powerful, when there was no killing intent or evil aura, none of the insects here could match an origin realm expert. Therefore, yelling Ganliu also flew unscrupulously at an extremely fast speed. He searched area after area of the sea. About 7 days later, he found the area where Lu Ming was. Lu Ming and the others had already been on the mountain peak watching for 7 days. During these 7 days, those insects were still fighting, and it was getting more and more tragic. However, after 7 days of fighting, it was finally about to come to an end. Only 2 of the strongest insects were left fighting each other. These 2 insects were abnormally powerful. After fighting for more than an hour, the outcome was finally decided. One of the insects, which looked like a blood-red mantis, cut off the head of the other insect with its sickle-like claws and swallowed it. However, although this mantis-like insect had killed its opponent, it had also suffered heavy injuries. After swallowing its opponent's head, it staggered a few steps and fell to the ground with a thud, no longer moving. On the mountain peak, the eyes of the people of the Heaven Destroyer and the Heavenly Palace lit up. These insects killed each other and were completely wiped out. In particular, Lu Ming was overjoyed. He was originally worried about how to enter the basin, but now all the insects were dead. However, the people of the Heaven Destroyer and the Heavenly Palace did not act rashly. They wanted to observe for a while longer. About half an hour later, there was still no movement in the basin. At this time, someone could not bear it and wanted to go down to explore. At this moment, not far away, a figure suddenly appeared. As soon as this figure appeared, an extremely powerful aura spread out and enveloped the area. This figure was yelling Ganliu. At the scene, everyone was shocked because they felt a terrifying pressure. Everyone couldn't help but look at yelling Ganliu. With a glance, the faces of the people of the Heaven Destroyer changed wildly and became extremely ugly. Through the aura, everyone knew that this was a powerhouse of the Origin Realm. However, this powerhouse of the Origin Realm was actually from the Celestial race. Why would the origin of the Celestial race come here? Didn't they all go to the central area of the core battlefield? Why would they come here? Unlike the people of the Heaven Destroyer, the people of the Heavenly Palace were all overjoyed when they saw yelling Ganliu. It's Senior yelling Ganliu. Isn't Senior yelling Ganliu in the Heavenly Palace? He actually came here. Great, We can catch all these rebels in one fell swoop. Many people of the Heavenly Palace were extremely excited. Yelling Ganliu? This person looks a little similar to Yelling Tianshou. Is he Yelling Tianshou's father? Lu Ming immediately thought of this. Before Yelling Tianshou died, he had roared that his father was a celestial master of the Heavenly Palace and would definitely avenge him. Could it be that the other party had followed him all the way here? Lu Ming's heart could not help but sink. He quietly retreated, wanting to hide in the crowd and avoid the eyes of Yelling Ganliu. However, it was not so easy. As soon as Yelling Ganliu appeared, his soul sense completely enveloped all the people of the Heaven Destroyer. His cold eyes swept over them one by one. When his gaze landed on Lu Ming, there was a burst of bright light in his eyes. Lu Ming, do you think you can hide from me by changing your appearance and aura? Come out and face your death. Yelling Ganliu roared. His killing intent soared to the sky, stirring the sea water constantly. We've been discovered. Lu Ming's face was bitter. Tang Jun, Mo Chang and the others' faces changed drastically. Tang Jun, Mo Chang, don't come out. I'll deal with it alone. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Tang Jun and the others, and then rushed out of the crowd. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.